This page is the cover of DC UK Dreamcast Magazine, release number 04. It boldly proclaims new and directs readers to www.dcuk.co.uk. The cover price is £2.95. The main image is a striking, dark close-up of a face wearing glasses, which reflect another image of a person. Featured headlines include, "Call the Fashion Police," "Pondering if Dreamcast characters are runway ready," and "Mad Yellow and Headed This Way," hyping up the superb home conversion of Crazy Taxi, with a page reference to 086. It also touches upon the Dreamcast's successful UK launch, with UK OK. The exclusive feature is Dark Star, focusing on acclaimed Shadow Man, which was screen-tested and dissected as a warped creation. The bottom includes the future publishing logo and barcode information for December 1999. This page is an HMV advert promoting Dreamcast games like Soul Calibur and Ready to Rumble, offering a free CD case with purchase. This page is the contents for issue number 04, kicking off with a bang. We've got a deep dive into the murky creation of Shadow Man, an exclusive review of the game itself. Apparently the spookiest thing ever, so prepare for sleepless nights. There's a feature on Dreamcast style, exploring the fashion within the games, which is a bit mad, but hey, someone's got to do it. Sir. You'll find reviews for Street Fighter Alpha 3, NBA Showtime, and a look at Soul Fighter. There's coverage of the UK Dreamcast launch and profiles on key figures like Guy Miller, the bloke behind Shadow Man, and Kazutoshi Miyake from Sega Europe. Plus, a Soul Calibur secrets guide and a look ahead to Crazy Taxi. All sounds rather promising. This page introduces the DC UK team, featuring photos and humorous snippets about the folks who put the magazine together, including Casper Field, Keith Stewart, Esther Woodman and the rest of the gang. Apparently they're changing the team photos next month, because some of them aren't too pleased with the current shots, citing snail-like appearances and perceived large bums. Over on the right, there's a full-page advert for Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball, featuring a rather dramatic warning about its potential impact on your life and finances, touting itself as the most realistic snooker game ever. Sounds like it could be rather addictive, mind. This page presents the DC UK mail section, giving readers a platform to rant, rave, and generally sound off about the Dreamcast and the gaming world. It's a lively mix of opinions, starting with the Mail of the Month, which raises concerns about console piracy and its potential impact. Readers also chime in on anticipated games like Shenmue, compare launch titles such as Virtua Fighter 3 TB to the powerhouse Soul Calibur, and discuss frustrations with the Dreamcast's online features and the complexities of 60Hz gaming. The DC UK team responds to the various points, offering clarifications and their own perspective on the subjects raised. It's clear there's plenty for Dreamcast owners and hopefuls to talk about. This page presents an exclusive UK review of the dark and sprawling adventure, Shadow Man. The game is described as featuring serial killers, undead voodoo warriors, and an enormous world to explore, urging readers to be ready for a walk on the dead side. The review emphasizes the sheer scale of the game, stating it's vast, sprawling, gigantic, requiring a serious time commitment to fully experience. It notes that Shadow Man is a slow burner, compared to games like Sonic Adventure, one that gets its hooks into you after some dedicated play, drawing comparisons to Tomb Raider. The screenshots illustrate the game's moody atmosphere, showing the protagonist in various combat situations and traversing dark, otherworldly locations, including one rather fiery area. The page also includes a brief explanation of the magazine's scoring system, ensuring readers understand how reviews are rated. This page continues the deep dive into Shadow Man, echoing the previous page's sentiment that while it's a slow starter, it truly gets its hooks into you, and is bloody great. The reviewer highlights the game's dual setting, splitting its time between the real world, live side, and a hellish afterlife, dead side. The core objective involves collecting dark souls to unlock new areas and abilities via coffin gates and god temples, which grant voodoo powers like swimming through lava. The plot involves battling demons and tracking down 5 serial killers. The page also showcases the game's unique lore system, presented through in-game books and tarot card-like files that detail the enemy profiles and the prophecy of Shadow Man, which is rather clever. The screenshots showcase the protagonist's movement capabilities and the scale and moodiness of the environments. This page continues the glowing review of Shadow Man, featuring a quote that calls it an enthrallingly dark, original and hugely intricate adventure, and urges you to surrender to its bloody embrace. Gameplay specifics are detailed, including collecting Kado for health upgrades, and how Shadow Man's ability to dual-wield any weapon, like the flaming marteau or violator, proves useful. The reviewer notes that voodoo tattoos grant special abilities, such as the Gadmarcher for walking on hot coals, and point out the varied weapon set. The lock-on system is likened to Zelda, though it has its quirks. The atmosphere is praised, especially the disturbing Playrooms level and its soundtrack, although some textures are deemed drab. Ultimately, the game scores a 9.0, cemented by its depth, character variety including headless zombies and Dr. Death, and impressive cutscenes. There's even a sidebar musing on a potential film adaptation. This page dives headfirst into a review of Street Fighter Alpha 3, celebrating Capcom's return to glorious 2D after dabbling in 3D with Power Stone. The main image shows Guy laying the smackdown on a Tecton. Smaller screens highlight the action and the extensive character select screen, looking exactly as it should. Meigaiku. The review hails Capcom as innovators, and praises the game for being a truly arcade-perfect conversion, which is always a relief, isn't it? It highlights the introduction of the ISM system, X, Z and V, allowing you to customize your fighting style, which is a rather clever touch. The reviewer gushes, calling it without doubt the most comprehensive, most customizable 2D fighting game we've seen for a long time, which is high praise indeed for a genre Capcom pretty much invented. The massive roster of fighters is also pointed out as a definite plus. This page continues the deep dive into Street Fighter Alpha 3, shifting the focus to the sheer wealth of content on offer. A section titled Modus Operandi breaks down the extensive game modes, including staples like arcade and team battle, the endurance test of survival, and the rather intriguing world tour and dramatic modes which offer unique ways to play, even letting you team up or take on two opponents at once. The review wraps up, lamenting the standard Dreamcast pad isn't quite ideal for pulling off all the necessary circular motions, suggesting an arcade stick is the way to go for the true arcade feel, despite the extra cost. The reviewer reinforces that while 3D fighters might offer different mechanics, Alpha 3 stands tall as a top-tier 2D experience, giving it a respectable score of 8 and the coveted arcade perfect stamp. The impressive character select screen, crammed with familiar faces and a few less-known ones, remains a visual highlight. This page slams dunk into NBA Showtime, a hoops title from the minds behind the legendary NBA Jam. It brings back that coin-op intensity with its frantic, arcade-style basketball. The visuals impress, particularly the stadiums and the effort put into getting the players' mugs right. You can actually tell who they are. The gameplay is straightforward, making it dead easy to pick up and start pulling off ridiculous dunks within minutes. While playing solo might get a bit stale, the 4-player mode sounds absolutely mental, described as a chaotic, competitive mess that's far more fun than it sounds. Mind you, the reviewer does note it's a bit thin on challenge and options, so don't expect a deep simulation here, just pure, silly fun, as shown in the action-packed screenshots. This page wraps up the NBA Showtime review by focusing on its shortcomings. It's a straight arcade port, unlike other Dreamcast coin-op conversions that added extra modes. This means you're stuck with just 2-on-2 games, more like a quick kickabout than a proper season, and you can't even pick your opponents. This dearth of modes, as the reviewer Lee Hart puts it, is the game's biggest drawback, despite the faithful arcade action. On the bright side, there's a brilliant player creator, where you can cobble together abominations. DC UK even made a 7-foot gorilla apparently. The review gives it a score of 6. The rest of the page is dedicated to a massive advertisement for Hydro Thunder, promising intense arcade boat racing action from Midway. This page dives headfirst into the chaotic world of NFL Blitz 2000. It's pitched as the perfect antidote to those overly complicated sports sims, stripping away all the fussy rules and stats for pure, unadulterated arcade action. The review highlights the game's frenetic pace, with just 7 players per side and only 4 downs to gain 30 yards. You can pretty much ignore the rulebook and just bash your way to the end zone by any means necessary. None of that tedious management or fiddly penalties here. The screenshots showcase the intense on-field action, showing tackles, runs, and passes. There's a neat section on the play editor, letting you craft your own offensive plays, and the captions point out highlights like a wide-open receiver, and the brutal tackles leading to potential injuries, all part of the Blitz charm. It's all about fast fun and outrageously violent gameplay. The next page continues the dive into NFL Blitz 2000, reinforcing its position as a fast-paced, arcade take on American football, completely ignoring the tedious rules found in other sims. It highlights the pure, unadulterated tackling chows and the ease of picking it up, especially if you're comfortable with an arcade stick. The screenshots back up the review's points about the intense action and the game's focus on turnovers rather than penalties. The review rates it an impressive 8, declaring, "It's a touchdown," and notes that if you enjoyed the arcade boxing fun of Ready to Rumbles, you'll likely find Blitz just as enjoyable for a quick gridiron fix. Dominating the right side of the page is a massive advert for Shadow Man, showcasing the dark, mysterious character against a haunting background, listing its release on Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, PC, and PlayStation. This page serves up a review of Soul Fighter, a beat-em-up that, according to the reviewer, doesn't exactly set the world alight. It's described as a tedious affair, right from the off, with a convoluted story, and a particularly dreadful intro sequence featuring a king with a questionable voice actor. The core gameplay involves saving souls across a measly 6 levels, using characters like Altus and Xiaomi to bash enemies with repetitive combos and weapons. Despite having arcade and adventure modes, there's apparently little difference between them, and the lack of a 2-player option is noted. The reviewer seems thoroughly unimpressed, stating that hoping for the game to get better is utterly futile. Screenshots show the action, including the UE with saved souls count and weapon stats, and a sidebox details the first-person weapon perspective feature. This page continues the rather damning review of Soul Fighter, showcasing more screenshots of the repetitive combat. The reviewer doubles down on the game's lack of depth, poor graphics, and uninspired beat-em-up mechanics, even suggesting the 10-year-old Golden Axe is a better game. Unwrapping Soul Fighter on Christmas morning would apparently be unforgivable, and the game scores a measly 4. The rest of the page is a large advert for Gameplay.com, promoting their wide selection of games available to buy online, by phone, or interactive TV. This page is a rather cynical look at WWF Attitude. The reviewer clearly isn't a fan of wrestling itself, describing it as arguably the most stupid sport in the world, and mocking the spectacle, the names, and the frankly offensive spandex attire. Despite this disdain for the subject matter, the game itself is described as potentially a very playable title, although the motion capture animation is noted as being a bit sluggish and collision detection is apparently an issue. You've got your basic exhibition matches, a career mode, and extensive customization options in the utilities section, letting you tweak everything from rope color to whether that annoying announcer gets on your nerves. The Creator Wrestler mode seems to have provided the most amusement, allowing you to build some truly grotesque characters to take into the ring, as evidenced by the screenshots showing various bizarre creations alongside familiar faces like Stone Cold, Goldust, and Mankind. It seems you can get a few hours out of this one, particularly if you enjoy creating monstrosities. This page finishes off the review of WWF Attitude. It continues to highlight the sluggish motion capture and collision detection problems, which the reviewer feels stops it from having the speed and feel of games like Ready to Rumble. Despite the ability to create monstrous wrestlers and muck about with the settings, the core gameplay is described as sluggish, leading to a mildly gripping 6 out of 10 score from DC UK. On the right, there's a full-page advert for Mortal Kombat Gold on Dreamcast, promising 20 characters in the greatest Mortal Kombat ever. This page reviews the snowboarding game Snow Surfers from UEP Systems. Apparently, despite having decent graphics and a good 2-player mode, the single-player experience is rather rubbish. The reviewer finds the game's courses largely uninspired, and the core gameplay tedious and uninvolving, lacking any real sense of actually sliding on snow. It seems the game just doesn't get the adrenaline pumping compared to other snowboarding titles of the era. With only 6 tracks and little else going for it, it's slapped with a rather harsh 3 out of 10. This page is all about Mortal Kombat Gold arriving on Dreamcast. It's back with its signature limb-popping and head-lopping gorefest, described as a bloody torrent of violence. The review covers the game's classic, albeit simple, fighting system, noting that fatalities are still present and correct, requiring simple button sequences. Screenshots show various characters like Kai, Tanya, Jax, Liu Kang, and Scorpion doing battle. The reviewer mentions the graphics are smooth and sharp, but states it's a long way from looking like the next-gen fighting game's Soul Calibur. Despite a lack of innovation and some camera issues, it's seen as good, mindless fun. With 20 characters and plenty of gore, fans of the series might find something here, but the dated gameplay earns it a bloody average score of 5/10. This page dives into the Dreamcast scene with UK top 10 sellers, Decock's must-play games, and even gets chefs to weigh in, The chart track list shows Sonic Adventure at number 1, proving the speedy hedgehog is back on top, with Ready to Rumble close behind. The easy money section suggests Soul Calibur is the best bang for your buck from a £100 budget. The DC UK team highlights Worldwide Soccer 2000, NBA Showtime, and the critically acclaimed Soul Calibur as their current favourites. Meanwhile, a group of chefs put the console to the test, trying out games like WWF Attitude, NFL Blitz, Snow Surfers, and Street Fighter Alpha 3. Their reactions are mixed, finding Street Fighter comfortable, despite controller differences, and WWF sparking a lot of shouting. This page features a profile on Scott Cooper, a professional American football player and Sky Sports analyst, who takes on NFL Blitz 2000. Initially stating he doesn't really like video games, finding the idea of sitting playing games all day a bit weird, he gives the arcade-style gridiron title a go. Cooper notes that NFL Blitz 2000 is a simplified, fast-paced version of the sport, not for purists, and admits he felt a lack of control over the players, even getting annoyed when the AI seemed to deliberately engineer a dramatic ending. Despite his initial reservations, he concedes he enjoyed it, finding the actions and graphics fantastic, ultimately giving it high praise as the most fun I ever had with one of the stupid things. There's also a screenshot, showing some on-field action, and a competition to win a Dreamcast and a copy of the game. This page is a massive advert for Gameplay.com, offering a wide range of Dreamcast games, consoles, and accessories at competitive prices, promising quality and service. This page covers the immense success of the Dreamcast UK launch. Sega announced record sales, with 185,000 consoles selling across Europe in just 4 days, including a huge 63,000 in the UK, absolutely blowing away previous console launches. Software sales were equally impressive, topping 350,000 copies across Europe, with Sonic Adventure leading the charge at number 1, selling 86,000 units alone. Accessories like VM units and extra controllers were also selling like hotcakes. The page features interviews with punters, who queued up at midnight to grab their consoles, all clearly thrilled with their new purchase. There's also a rundown of the top-selling launch titles based on retailer data, confirming Sonic's dominance but raising an eyebrow at Tokyo Highway Challenge's surprising popularity. Below that, a couple of fellas, Kung Lao and Zero, look ready for a scrap. The next page covers the chows and excitement of the Dreamcast launch party in London, detailing the evening's events, hour by hour. We hear about appearances from boxing legends Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn, who were apparently there to play Ready to Rumbles. The night featured stilt walkers, a monster truck driven by Eubank, and large Dreamcast logos projected across buildings, creating quite the spectacle despite some logistical hiccups. Notably, Sega chairman Okawasan arrived, adding to the buzz. Alongside the party report, there's a look at Sega's marketing efforts, specifically testing if Londoners recognized the Dreamcast logo. The results were rather amusing, with most people having absolutely no clue what the swirling blue symbol represented, offering guesses ranging from washing powder to a VW logo. Looks like Sega's spiral marketing certainly got people talking, just not necessarily about Dreamcast. The page also features a striking image of a character named Taja. The next page delves into the latest news and rumors from the world of Dreamcast. Top billing goes to Sega GT, Sega's answer to Gran Turismo, with a feature highlighting its realism and extensive car list, backed up by some sharp-looking preview shots. Elsewhere, we get the lowdown on the rocky start for Dream Arena, Sega's online service, noting the difficulties players faced connecting initially, though things were apparently improving. In a major exclusive, Lionhead's highly anticipated strategy game Black and White is confirmed for a Dreamcast release, with screenshots showing its unique God game perspective. Other headlines include Team 17 reviving Alien Breed as a 3D strategy game, Silicon Dreams working on War Monkeys, and a spooky Halloween download for Sonic Adventure players. The rumor section floats ideas like a wacky races game, a Saturn emulator built into Shenmue, and a possible Omicron port. Finally, there's a bold image of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat looking rather imposing. This page dives into more upcoming Dreamcast titles and hardware happenings. Headlining the show is Phantasy Star, confirming Sega's beloved RPG series is making the jump to Dreamcast, with Sonic Team at the helm and crucially, looking set to embrace online play, letting mates tackle quests together. Looks like a mix of familiar dungeons and new cityscapes from the screenshots. Elsewhere, the arcade legend Gauntlet Legends is making a grand return to the console, promising 4-player hack-and-slash chows, with multiple characters and levels perfect for a night in with pals. And get this, There's even a game based on the band Kiss coming, a first-person shooter no less, featuring mutated monsters, and what looks like the band members themselves as playable characters. Bit bonkers, that one. Horror fans aren't left out, with news of a bumper Resident Evil package hitting Japan, including the excellent Resident Evil 2, brought to the Dreamcast, and a demo for the upcoming Code Veronica. Plus, for those brave enough to void their warranty, a mod chip is being released in the UK allowing players to import games. Over on the side, there's a little flavor text about a fellow called Bilbo who met his game over. Finally, a quick shout out to the Mortal Kombat Conquest video series. This page kicks off with Dream Teams, covering Sega's foray into sports sponsorship, particularly football. It delves into the woes of Arsenal and other European clubs, providing updates on their performance and various off-field shenanigans. There's also a competition linked to the Wafer Striker game, offering a chance to win a trip to Milan for the derby. Rather swanky prize that. But the real meat for us gamers is Great Video Game Things, Part 3. This piece waxes lyrical about the glorious return of the high score. Remember chasing those coveted top spots in the arcade? Well, Dreamcast is bringing it back online. It celebrates legendary feats like Billy Mitchell's perfect Pac-Man score, and notes how games like Sonic Adventure are using internet leaderboards to let players compete globally, just like the good old days, but without having to lug your coins down to the local arcade. This page maps out the global climate for Dreamcast happenings, with the Dreamcast weather map. The Stormfront section brings news from across the globe, highlighting Sega finally getting a proper Gran Turismo rival in Japan, and the frankly massive, if slightly overwhelming, success of the European launch, causing a spot of bother getting online. Bit of a delay down under, in Australia too. Elsewhere, we hear about Sega of America flogging rather fetching colored controllers, an advanced PC engine, Lithtech, making its way to the console which bodes well for shooters, and Midway getting a financial boost from DC hits like R2R. There's also talk of a new driving game called Stunt Driver, a rather niche train simulator conversion, and the slightly bonkers Hello Kitty console. Interestingly, Sonic is even popping up on the Neo Geo Pocket. Hellocur, the hot and not thermometer gives us a quick temperature check. The Euro launch is clearly red hot, as are key games like Phantasy Star Online and Space Channel 5. Down at the colder end, poor old Arsenal getting knocked out isn't exactly setting the world alight. The next page features a collection of Street Fighter character trump cards, highlighting the enduring legacy of the series, particularly Street Fighter Alpha 3 on Dreamcast. Each card gives a brief background and vital statistics for a selection of iconic fighters, including fan favorites like Ryu, Ken, Zangief, Cammy, and M. Bison. Over on the right, the Absolutely Fact column provides a humorous look at the upcoming Christmas season and the predicted massive success for Dreamcast. An industry insider offers festive advice on how to subtly nudge loved ones towards buying a Dreamcast, and suggests that getting lost in games like Ready to Rumble and Sonic Adventure is a perfect way to avoid awkward family conversations. The piece cheekily notes that, according to this insider, the lack of online gaming doesn't seem to have dampened Dreamcast sales one bit. This page features an interview with Guy Miller, the chap behind the rather unnerving action-adventure title, Shadow Man. Miller chats about his journey through the industry, including his time at Rare working on games like Battletoads, and his stint at Core Design where he contributed to Tomb Raider, Battlehawk, and Soulstar. He candidly admits wanting to move beyond the bread-and-butter games, to push the envelope and explore deeper narratives, much like his horror inspirations, Stephen King and Clive Barker. Miller also clarifies his role in the creation of Lara Croft, confirming Toby Gard was the main architect, though he did suggest the name. He muses on the potential for games to delve into darker themes as technology advances. This page features an interview with Katsutoshi Miyake, the Chief Operating Officer of Sega Europe. Miyake-san, a former karate champion and longtime Sega man, discusses steering Sega Europe through tough times and his confidence in the Dreamcast, going so far as to bet his own house on its success. Quite the gamble. He explains the importance of constantly releasing new titles, and Sega Europe's 1.5-party development system, which funds European studios. Titles like Red Dog, Worldwide Soccer, Toy Commander, and Metropolis Street Racer are highlighted as results of this initiative. Miyake-san also touches on the competitive landscape with PlayStation 2 and his personal commitment, referencing a rather dramatic analogy about crossing a river and needing Dreamcast to succeed to repay his mortgage. It sounds like he's certainly putting the hours in, working from 7 AM till 11 PM, apparently finding stress relief with an electronic fighting dummy and a piece of timber in his garden. Rather him than me. This page is an advert for ukgamers.com this Christmas, featuring a strange Santa scene alongside a vibrant photo of Akihabara, Tokyo. The site covers Game Boy Color, N64, Dreamcast, PlayStation, and PC, offering multiplayer gaming, downloads, tips, and more. This page is a comprehensive guide to navigating Akihabara, Tokyo, the legendary electric town, a gamer's paradise unlike anything you'll find elsewhere. Forget the local electronics shop, this place is on another level. Born from a post-WW2 market, and now a sprawling hub of new and used electronics and games. The guide highlights key spots like Triumph for arcade cabinets and adapters, the massive Laox chain with floors dedicated to gaming goodies, Softmap as a strong competitor offering slightly cheaper deals, Mesisano with its console displays, and a dedicated second-hand game store. It covers everything from consoles and PCs, to obscure arcade boards and bootleg cartridges, often available months before they hit Western shores and generally at better prices. It's described as an unmissable experience for anyone vaguely into electronics or games visiting Japan. This page continues the deep dive into Akihabara's electric town, providing a handy map to navigate the sensory overload. It points out essential stops like Preload Zone, where you can find the official Famitsu store among floors of tech, and Yamagiwa Soft, a haven for snagging older UK games and Japanese beat-em-ups. You've also got the Sega Hitech Land Arcade, naturally, and multi-level gaming emporiums like Game and Soft, packed with everything from Famicom to Dreamcast. Be aware of the street bootleggers flogging questionable goods, but for the more legit hunt, places like Ishimaru cover electronics, while Game Per Candela/LD/Video offers a massive selection of consoles and media. Getting there via the junior line is your best bet, though mastering the Tokyo subway map might take a bit of practice. It's a whirlwind but utterly necessary for any serious enthusiast. The next page dives headfirst into the creepy world of acclaimed Shadow Man. The striking black and white image and the article title, Hearts of Darkness, set a suitably grim tone. The author, Owain Benelak, is clearly exploring the game's unsettling atmosphere and development, suggesting it aims to deliver a truly scary experience. Humorously claiming it makes Blair Witch Project look tame compared to some Halloween costumes. The text describes the game's dark environments, violence, and nightmare vision, painting a picture of a deeply disturbing journey. It sounds like the kind of game that sticks with you long after you've switched off the console. This page continues the deep dive into acclaimed Shadow Man, explaining the game's unsettling premise where Mike Leroy becomes the Shadow Man to hunt a group of terrifying serial killers known as the Five across both the living world and the afterlife realm of Deadside. Developers Miller and Phipps discuss how they adapted the Shadow Man comic, revealing the game evolved from an earlier project called Malice. They openly admit to adding the serial killer storyline themselves, finding it rather dead cool, despite it not being in the original comic. The article also touches on the game's influences, referencing psychological theories like the monomyth and cultural touchstones like Apocalypse Now. A brief interview snippet with a psychiatrist about profiling serial killers adds a disturbing layer to the discussion, tying back to the game's central theme. The page features several atmospheric black and white screenshots of the game's spooky locations and character portraits. This page continues the deep dive into acclaimed Shadow Man, delving into the game's controversial decision to feature serial killers. The developers confirm these monsters are largely fictional, thankfully not Fred West or Peter Sutcliffe, though old Jack the Ripper does make an appearance. They drew inspiration from psychological studies and fictional villains alike, aiming to make the killers pathetic bogeymen rather than heroes. It seems even the author who consulted on profiling was a bit taken aback by the concept for a game. They discuss the challenge of depicting the most abominable place, and the surprising differences in censorship requests between America and Germany. More guns wanted across the pond apparently. The spooky atmosphere is enhanced by layered sound design and locations like the asylum, based on dark paintings. Scattered screenshots show the dark, atmospheric gameplay, hinting at the terrifying world you'll explore. Oh, and word is, a sequel is already in the works. This page features a rather useful games console carry bag for your Dreamcast setup, heavily padded, and water-resistant, with space for the console, controllers, leads and games, all for a reasonable £24.99. Flipping over to something a bit more stylistic, we ponder the concept of game characters hitting the catwalks. It turns out fashion designers are actually drawing inspiration from the digital world, with examples like Diesel creating looks influenced by G-Police, and Eidos launching a fashion line around Lara Croft. It seems the Style Police are keeping a keen eye on gaming for the next big trend, even wondering if iconic characters like the silhouette shown here, looks a bit like Sonic, doesn't it, could make it in the world of high fashion. The next page continues the theme of gaming and fashion, putting two notable characters under the microscope of style experts. We've got Amy Rose from Sonic Adventure, described as typically cute and pink, though one expert notes her hammer accessory is rather chestu. Yo your way, yo your way, yo your way, yo your way, yo your way. Chestu. The fashion folk seem to think her look, while leaning into Japanese anime trends, is quite stylish in parts, particularly the boots and wrist bracelets, though some found it a bit too cartoonish for the catwalk. Then there's Falcon from Power Stone, who the experts reckon has a strong, trendy look. His British flag jacket and goggles give off a cool, modern vibe that's apparently very fashionable right now, tapping into themes like customized clothing and the 50s rock and roll aesthetic. One designer even compared his look to coming straight out of a pit stop. It seems the Style Police are definitely giving these game characters a thumbs up for their sartorial choices, proving gaming style is fair game for fashion inspiration. The next page continues the fashion critique, putting the style of two more iconic fighters under the microscope. First up is Ivy from Soul Calibur, described as a power dresser. The fashion experts reckon her look is very dominatrix, evoking Teary Mugler with its sculpted fabric, PVC, and leather. They note the bondage elements mixed with armor create sex appeal, though some find it a bit shocking and out of step with current trends, while others call her look cool, or akin to Debbie Harry. Her platinum hair is deemed cutting edge. Next is Chun-Li from Street Fighter Alpha 3, dubbed China Doll. Her classic look, complete with the blue dress, leggings and signature hairstyle, draws comparisons to Galliano. While some appreciate the sexy elements like the skirt split and note her natural look, others find the gold details, boots, and sleeve collars a bit cheesy. The spiky wristbands are called horrendous, adding aggression to what some perceive as a kinky, perverted look due to high contrasts. The consensus is divided, with some finding her stylishly up and coming, and others seeing her as a fashion misfit. The page also features the fashion designers giving their expert opinions on these virtual wardrobes. The next page delves further into the world of virtual fashion, first dissecting Shadow Man from the aptly titled Dead Sexy section. The fashionistas are divided on the anti-hero's look, noting his heavily built physique is a far cry from the current skinny nerd trend. Some find the lack of clothing and tattoos too cliched, or like a gruesome anatomical drawing, while others appreciate the predatory, sensual vibe and the body adornments. Next up is Lion from Virtua Fighter 3 TB, labeled Pussycat. His simple, floppy hair and standard young style are seen as non-threatening, and perhaps even a potential gay icon, or a nod to the 90s boy band look. The experts muse on his androgynous appearance, comparing his street fashion style, complete with Clarks-esque boots and baggy jeans, to the boy next door, or even an American Ralph Lauren vibe. The technical details and footwear are deemed particularly interesting and modern. This page is a subscription offer for DC UK Magazine, giving away free issues when you subscribe, and featuring an excited gamer playing with a controller. This page gives us the lowdown on Crazy Taxi, a seriously addictive arcade port hitting the Dreamcast. It's all about picking up punters and tearing through a city that feels like a bonkers version of San Francisco, aiming to drop them off as fast as possible to rack up the cash. The write-up reckons the game's proof Japan is the absolute capital of gaming, and you'd be mad to disagree once you've played it. It praises the speed and fun, noting how successful it was in the arcades. The Dreamcast version sounds like a faithful conversion, with improved handling compared to the coin-op, so you'll be pulling off those crazy drifts and weaving through traffic like a pro. There are loads of screenshots showing off the action, from jumping ramps over traffic to sliding around corners, all while the timer is ticking down. It sounds like a proper adrenaline rush, with passengers tipping you for skillful driving and finding sneaky shortcuts. Looks like Sega's bringing the arcade mayhem home beautifully. This page covers a couple of upcoming titles to keep an eye on. First up is Air Force Delta, a flight combat sim where you take on mercenary jobs. You'll be soaring through the skies, blowing things up, and earning cash to upgrade your aircraft, with over 30 planes available, including classics like the F-14 Tomcat and the Su-37 Flanker. The visuals are touted as potentially stunning, and the missions sound promisingly varied, tackling everything from defending a city to flying through a tunnel base. We also get an update on Fighting Force 2, This sequel is shifting gears from the original's brawling, aiming for a more strategic approach involving stealth and tactics, described rather enticingly as Metal Gear Solid meets Streets of Rage. You'll be fighting through free-roaming levels against battle robots, using a variety of weapons and environmental objects. The hope is for more realistic combat and a deeper experience than its predecessor. This page covers a couple more games worth keeping an eye on. We kick off with a look at Four Wheel Thunder, an off-road racer featuring monster trucks, jeeps and quads tearing across varied terrains like snow, mud, and even indoor arenas. It seems to be leaning towards arcade action rather than pure simulation, and it's got a rather intriguing betting system where you can gamble winnings on vehicle upgrades. Next up is Test Drive 6, which promises over 100 licensed cars, including some cracking classic motors. The action takes place on real-world tracks in places like London and Hong Kong, and the perennial police chases are back with supposedly improved AI to really give you the runaround. Beyond the game previews, there's a rather large section detailing the Special Reserve Club, offering memberships, free gifts, console bundles, and lists of games and peripherals for sale. There are also adverts for their shops and online presence. This page previews a couple of intriguing upcoming titles. First up is Evolution, a Japanese RPG featuring cute characters and turn-based combat, set in a refreshingly different 1930s archaeological adventure rather than the usual sci-fi fare. You'll explore ruins, uncover secrets, and engage in those classic random battles we all adore, apparently. The omens are good for it being a solid RPG, mind you. Then we shift gears to MDK2, the sequel to Shiny's unique third-person action game. It's been pushed back to February 2000, but promises significant changes from developer BioWare. You get to play as three distinct characters: Kurt, the stealthy one, Max, the six-legged robodog, and Dr. Hawkins, each with their own gameplay style. Sounds like a proper mix-up of action against aliens intent on world destruction. This page previews a couple of upcoming Dreamcast titles. First up is Revolt, a game about racing remote-controlled cars. It sounds like it captures the feel of tiny cars tearing around much larger environments, and thankfully, the Dreamcast version is a significant improvement over the PC port, with much sharper visuals and no nasty pop-up. Apparently you can race with up to 4 players and even build your own tracks. Looks like good fun with miniature vehicles. Cheshire. Then we have South Park, Chef's Love Shack, a game show title hosted by the legendary chef. It involves answering trivia questions and playing minigames. The article highlights the game's crude humor and rather questionable trivia categories, which sounds entirely in character for South Park. It looks like a Wheel of Fortune-style setup mixed with other daft minigames, promising a rather different kind of party game experience. This page previews Deadly Pursuit, a forthcoming police chase simulator published by Fox Interactive. Let's be honest, deep down, we all have a bit of a soft spot for programs like police camera action, and this game lets you live that dream. You play as a cop tasked with taking down maniac drivers in high-speed pursuits across large urban maps, with the added thrill of media coverage from helicopters and news cameras. With multiple modes and 75 missions, it sounds like they're aiming to capture the chow-monetic fun of those TV shows. Developed by Teeny Weeny Games, it's expected in Q2000. The remainder of the page is taken up by adverts for Simply Games, offering game discounts, and promoting Sega Dreamcast Online gaming. This page is a split focus, showcasing both the Mountain Biking UK magazine on the left and the DC World section for Dreamcast on the right. The biking part highlights stunts, crashes and trials, letting everyone know it's on sale now. On the gaming side, the In This Section list details what's coming up. We've got review listings to check out all the scores, an Ask Auntie Esther column for those pressing Dreamcast questions, and vital Soul Calibur hints for mastering that legendary fighter. There are guides for Hydro Thunder and Buggy Heat, a look at Sega Naomi arcade games, and features on Seaman and WWF Attitude, including a rather specific guide for playing wrestling during a power cut. Looks like a packed issue. This DC UK page reviews Dreamcast peripherals and games. Essential add-ons include a joypad, visual memory unit, arcade stick, wheel, and keyboard. Game reviews include House of the Dead 2, 8/10, Hydro Thunder, 7/10, Blue Stinger, 3/10, Buggy Heat and Expendable, 6/10, Incoming, 5/10, Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball, 6/10, F1 World Grand Prix, 7/10, Monaco GP, 6/10, and Marvel vs. Capcom, 6/10. Reviews highlight strengths and weaknesses, including arcade-perfect ports, imaginative courses, repetitive gameplay, and dated graphics. This page is packed with reviews covering a wide variety of Dreamcast titles and some essential hardware info. First up in the review listings is the excellent Power Stone, grabbing a 9/10 for its superb 3D arenas and free movement, making it a genre leader. We also see Ready 2 Rumbles come in at a respectable 8/10, praised as classicus video gaming with impressive characters. It even gets a nod in the reader review section this month. Racing games are mixed, with Speed Devils scoring a 7/10 as an enjoyable addition despite lacking depth, while Suzuki Alstair only manages a 5/10, being a real disappointment after its predecessor. Elsewhere, Sega Bass Fishing nets a 7/10, surprisingly fun but a bit repetitive. Sega Rally 2, a previous favorite, also scores 7/10, showing its age slightly but still a good racer. Toy Commander is deemed an accomplished title at 7/10, though held back by frustrating missions. Trickstyle scores a strong 9/10 for its state-of-the-art futuristic racing. Soul Calibur takes the crown with a perfect 10 out of 10. Hailed as an incredible, visually stunning masterpiece. Sonic Adventure gets a well-deserved 9/10 for bringing the hedgehog into a delightful 3D world. Football fans get UEFA Striker at 8/10, called a cracking game. Finally, Virtua Fighter 3 TB comes in at 7/10, an essential purchase as a solid arcade fighter. The Connections section highlights the Dreamcast's fantastic 60Hz option and explains the different cable types you can use for the best picture quality, like SCART. This page is packed with reader questions for Auntie Esther, covering everything from VGA compatibility and the elusive 60Hz option for various region games, to details on the VM unit battery life and memory. There's chatter about expected game re-releases, including a rumor about Sega Rally 2 getting online features, and clarification that while you can download VM data, there's no DVD playback support. Yet, readers also inquire about modem release dates and browser disks. Elsewhere, the Coining It section questions whether football star Nicolas Anelka was spotted playing Virtua Striker in a previous issue, adding a touch of celebrity gossip to the arcade scene. The Hardcore Hardware info box lays out the Dreamcast's technical specs, detailing its Hitachi Shieishi 4, CPU, Power VR graphics, GROM drive, IECA audio chip, and memory configuration, plus info on video output and the modems. Visually, you've got a clean shot of the Dreamcast console itself, a photo of some chaps enjoying an arcade game, likely Virtua Striker, and a cracking screenshot from Sega Rally 2 showing off the race U. Looks like a proper mix of gaming dilemmas and hardware geekery this month. This page is all about peeling back the layers on Soul Calibur's massive secret system. We kick off with a look at Mission Mode, described as a quest-like experience where winning earns you points to buy art cards. These cards, as it turns out, are the keys to unlocking all sorts of goodies, from alternate costumes and new stages, to entirely new missions. The main event here is the Ultimate List, a sprawling guide detailing precisely which art card number corresponds to which secret. It's quite extensive, covering secrets unlocked by cards from various galleries like The Tale Begins, Souls Guided by Destiny, and End of Quest. We're talking about everything from unlocking exhibition theatre character appearances like Voldo, Sophicia and Nightmare, to opening up new art galleries, revealing character profiles, and granting access to tons of different stages and missions like Money Pit, Colosseum, and various number 2 versions of locations. It's the motherlode for anyone wanting to find absolutely everything Soul Calibur has hidden away. There are also screenshots showing off some of the brutal action you'll encounter. This page carries on peeling back the layers of Soul Calibur's secrets, this time focusing on hidden missions and arcade mode unlocks. It reveals how to find secret stages like the Secret Dojo, tucked away north of Japan, and the Swamp, lurking near Ostrheinsberg Castle, both presenting unique challenges like poisonous rats or sinking ground. There's also a tip on unlocking the Chaos Stage by ACING, the Water Vein mission. Seacrew. Switching gears to arcade mode, the guide explains how simply playing through with different or unlocked characters gets you more fighters and stages. A special method for unlocking Inferno is detailed, involving Xianghua's third costume and completing arcade mode with her. You can see the standard roster available, including Siegfried, Mitsurugi, and Cervantes. Off to the side, there's a cool graphic showcasing a variety of Dreamcast games, such as Sonic Adventure, Shadow Man, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Soul Calibur itself. Below that, a brief advert for Simply Games, offering low prices and free delivery. This page dives into the secrets for two cracking arcade races, Buggy Heat and Hydro Thunder. For Buggy Heat, you'll find out how to unlock faster buggies like the Jet Buggy by hitting 100% on level building, and the Beelzebub Buggy by mastering Expert Mode. There are also hints on unlocking more races, and even an extra color scheme for your ride by beating the game on Expert. The screenshots show the action, character selection, and handy track map. Then it's on to Hydro Thunder, offering tips on maximizing speed with boosters, finding those crucial red balloons for mega boosts, and avoiding opponents who can ruin your day. There are also vital tactics like the turbo jump and getting a super start off the line, plus a cheat code to unlock every track. The visuals show the high-speed boat racing action. Off to the side, there's an advert for futurenet.co.uk, promoting itself as a top European website for online content, including Future Gamer, musicians, and other related sites. This page dives into the latest Sega coin-ops hitting the UK arcade scene, specifically Outrigger, Jambo Safari, and Emergency Call Ambulance. First up is Jambo Safari, a rather unique hunting sim where you drive a jeep to capture African animals using a lasso and net, but you're saving them, not hunting them for trophies. It uses a binocular view to spot critters, then a lasso or net is deployed from the jeep with a gear stick control. The game's interface is novel, but the review notes it might get a bit repetitive over time, despite the different animal types. Then we get to Outrigger, a cracking third-person shooter putting you in an anti-terrorist squad. You navigate 3D levels with a joystick, but aim with a trackball, which sounds like a recipe for a bit of a mess at first. It supports linking machines for multiplayer fragfests, and even includes Quake-style deathmatch elements like quad damage. The thermal imaging feature to spot hiding opponents is a neat touch. Blowing stuff up is mentioned as being quite satisfying, which, let's be honest, it usually is. Emergency Call Ambulance is mentioned briefly as less deep than the others but still fun. Overall, these seem like a mixed bag of arcade treats from Sega. This page dives into more of Sega's arcade output hitting the UK, starting with a detailed look at Emergency Call Ambulance. Described as the world's first paramedic driving sim, it tasks you with rushing patients to hospital, featuring dramatic intro sequences and gameplay likened to a more serious version of Crazy Taxi, although the review notes the ambulance handles like a fridge on wheels. It seems to be an oddly sober arcade experience, despite the frantic goal. Next up is the fantastic Virtua Tennis, Sega's popular tennis game. With simple 2-button controls for shots and lobs, it offers surprising depth, and includes top players like Tim Henman. The article praises its intuitive play and animation, eagerly anticipating a Dreamcast release. Finally, there's Virtua Striker 2, VI 2000, another brilliant sports title. This football game uses a simple 3-button system for shooting and passing, providing fluid gameplay with impressive animation and a decent selection of international teams. It's highlighted as a great, authentic arcade football experience. This page delves into the shadowy world of import gaming, kicking off with the utterly bizarre Seaman. It's described as a voice recognition pet simulator, where you raise a half-man, half-fish creature in an aquarium, interacting with it via a microphone peripheral. It sounds properly mental, starting with hatching an egg and teaching the chap to recognize your voice, though initially, he only speaks Japanese. Next up is Tukon Retsuden 4, a Japanese wrestling game. While it offers plenty of modes and wrestler customization, the reviewer is rather scathing about the gameplay, calling it utter rubbish with unresponsive controls, so you might fancy making a cuppa while waiting for your wrestler to actually do something. It seems like one for the dedicated wrestling completists only. This page continues the deep dive into importing games, explaining the technical side of things like why you might need an NTSC console or an add-on device to bypass regional locks, and the importance of step-down transformers and SCART/S video cables for displaying games correctly on your telly. It also showcases some rather detailed Japanese game guides, suggesting they're so comprehensive even a gaijin like yourself could probably follow them. We then get the lowdown on the top 10 best-selling import games at SEX, featuring absolute corkers like Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, and Marvel vs. Capcom, alongside some less common finds like Marionette Handler and Espion Agents. Finally, there's a look at the most requested upcoming imports, with the mighty Shenmue topping the list, closely followed by Zombie Revenge and Metropolis Street Racer. The rest of the page is a massive advert for Software First, a retailer flogging Dreamcast games and accessories with some sort of swap shop deal. This page takes us on a monthly trawl through the internet ocean, starting with the results of a poll on anticipated games where Soul Calibur and Sonic Adventure predictably came out on top. There was a bit of a surprise though, as Sega Rally 2 and Power Stone weren't highly anticipated but somehow became bestsellers right out of the gate. We also dive into creating VM animations with Dream Animator, mentioning a site that helps us users, and a rather interesting search term related to KO. The page highlights reader-submitted Dreamcast sites and details the Sonic vs. USA online competition, showing the growing online community and Sega's efforts in that space. There's even mention of a peculiar partnership with Swatch for a universal internet time system. The next page takes us into the magazine's adult toy section, minus the questionable love beads, dubbed Powered Down. It's a look at merchandise and collectibles. First up is a mini basketball setup for the office, proving you don't need to jump to score points, just a comfy chair. Competing with dartboards and Scalextric for desk space, it seems like a bit of fun for desk-bound journos. Next, a Playmobil Ghost is featured, humorously compared to the characters in Soul Fighter, suggested as a friendlier alternative with a plastic ball and chain. Then there's a WWF character figure, The Undertaker, linked to the WWF Attitude game. He's described as nasty-looking but bendable, ideal for sparring with a stone-cold Steve Austin figure. Finally, Shadowman comics are highlighted, described as gory graphic novels tied into the game, definitely not for the faint of heart or fans of slapstick humor. Prices are given for the toys, while the comics are simply nicked. This page dives into the team's Powered Down diary, chronicling a busy month including the UK Dreamcast launch, a run of birthdays, and the ongoing saga of their five-a-side football team, which sounds rather eventful. We also get Stephen Lawson's hip-hop column, exploring the genre's origins and reviewing crucial breakbeat compilations, such as Pulp Fusion and The Breaks 2, giving them the magazine's hot wax seal of approval. Lastly, the Mix and Match Body Parts feature continues its quest to gross us out, this month presenting up-close shots of the team's noses, leaving us to ponder which poor soul is hiding the most unfortunate set. The horror continues next issue with Ears. The next page is hyping the upcoming issue, proclaiming the Dreamcast the 21st century toy and the entertainment medium for the next millennium. The DC UK crew are apparently ready to delve into what Y2K has in store for everyone's favourite super console, which frankly sounds a bit more exciting than worrying about aeroplanes falling from the sky. They'll also take a gander back at the highlights from '99 before welcoming the new year in style. Issue number 05 is set to board on Friday, December 17th, so mark your calendars. The page is adorned with a rather striking shot of the Dreamcast console and its distinctive controller, bathed in some rather snazzy lighting. This page is dedicated almost entirely to adverts for various retailers looking to shift some serious stock. You've got places like Games 2000, D&W Mail Order, Cybernet, CA Games, Console Corner, and Video Game Center all vying for your attention, offering everything from Dreamcast games and consoles to imports and accessories. Handy if you were after something specific back in the day. There's also a reminder that the next cracking issue of DC UK would be hitting the shelves on the 17th of December. Oh, and a rather large plug for Total Film magazine, featuring everyone's favourite secret agent, James Bond. This page opens with a cracking feature titled Brain in a Jar, where Trevor Williams, the managing director over at Rage Birmingham, lists the 5 crucial Dreamcast games he'd need if confined to a jar with only a console. He starts strong with the absolute fighting masterpiece, Soul Calibur, before moving on to the reliable football action of UEFA Striker, the top-down mayhem of GTA 2, the potentially epic adventure Shenmue, and finally, the surprisingly addictive Sega bass fishing for a bit of chill-out time. The rest of the page is a massive advert from Wickedware, showcasing the Dreamcast console itself for £189.99, a huge selection of accessories like steering wheels, arcade sticks and various pads, and a substantial list of games available for purchase, alongside details for a competition to win some serious gear. This page is a vibrant introduction to the out-of-print archive, featuring the chaotic fun of Pen Pen Triathlon on the left. This game looks like pure, unadulterated multiplayer racing joy, with characters belly surfing, skating, and swimming their way through colourful courses. Dreamcast Magazine certainly rated the silliness, giving it a rather impressive 86% and proclaiming it the most fun you can have with your Dreamcast, which is high praise indeed. The right side of the page explains the purpose of the archive project itself, a dedicated effort to digitize and preserve classic video game magazines, ensuring they aren't lost to time. They explain that this is a preliminary version being shared while the full restoration work is ongoing, highlighting their respect for the original publications and creators.